Mom's Thoughts.
Hello and welcome to the special edition of the MomsThoughts Show. I am so thrilled and honored to have the Nia Vardalos as my guest today. Most of you will recognize the name from her huge hit movies like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, My Life in Ruins, Connie and Carla, just to name a few. Ms. Vardalos recently wrote an amazing book titled Instant Mom. I spent the entire day yesterday reading this book. It's one of those books that you just can't put down. I got up in the morning, and the next thing I knew, I was still reading it in my pajamas at dinner time. So it's a great book. I strongly advise everyone getting it. You will love it. The book made me laugh. It made me cry. I even found myself at times saying out loud, yes, me too. It's just such a great book. So I hope you'll all rush out and get this. I have links for it on my website, so you can download the book or order the book. And I do believe that Miss Nia Vardalos is with me now. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm so excited. I just buzzed in and I heard all that. You're so nice.
No, I feel kind of, I have to say, like we're like besties now. After reading your book, I feel like you are just the kind of person that I'd be best friends with instantly. So if I seem a little familiar, excuse me.
That's
you haven't
lovely.
read my book, but I've read yours. So
thank you. You see what I write about it. I love female relationships. There is nothing as comforting and honest as the girlfriend. So thank you. Yes, we are besties.
And that was one of the things in your book. There's so many of them that struck me as like, yes, I'm so glad she said that. Yes, that, I just was so happy to read, and I was hope you were getting to something. There was a lot of moments like that. And then when I saw it written, I was like, yes, just very excited. And I think I was like saying yes out loud, like by myself in my in my room. But and before we get started talking about the book, I just also have to tell you that my most favorite place on earth that I've ever visited is Greece. I love the people, the culture, everything about it. I was to Athens, and it's just an incredible place. Have you any plans to bring your daughter to visit Greece?
I do. We have a rule at our house that she has to learn to speak Greek fluently before we go, and
that's
she
awesome.
is close. Yeah, really close.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
She's a determined young lady. I love that.
Yeah, she is. Thank you. Yeah, she's very goal-oriented. And then sometimes, of course, she goes through phases where she doesn't feel like reading. She just wants to draw or color, and we just let her be. She's a kid,
that's cool. When you would talk about her lining her stuffed animals up and reading, my daughter did the same thing at the same age and has been a voracious reader all her life. And she's in college now. It has served her well. So I think that I see the same ahead for your daughter.
Yes, I think so. She loves stories. She loves storytelling, and for me that came from reading.
Yes, absolutely. And my daughter would beg me to read anything to her. What are you reading now, Mom? Just read me a little, just a little. Anything to hear the story. I guess to hear my voice. And it was great because my family are readers, so we had books that my dad had as a child. I could read to her. My favorite books as a child, so we've hung on to those. So it was great, and I miss those days kind of now. But after reading your book, I have to say, you're not what most might consider your typical Hollywood mom and wife.
Really?
What?
Because I don't have breast implants, or
that might be one of the many reasons. And it's so delightful because it's like, wow, okay, you mean you don't have 3 nannies on staff? You mean you take your own child to school? How unglamorous. And then when I read at the end the part about the Rit die, because I do that, and I thought no one else in the world does that. And I died. I'm like, that is so not Hollywood.
That's so funny. Thank you. That's the ultimate compliment you can pay me. Thank you so much. I worked so hard to become a mom, as most women do, and it goes by so fast. So even though, I don't love getting up as early as I have to do and, putting a coat on over my pajamas and driving her to school, but I love the conversation. I know everything in her class, everything. She's told me about her secret plan to kiss this boy. I mean, it's really great because she hatches it with me as long as I just don't show any judgment on my face or never ask her about it. It's always got to be them bringing it up. Yeah.
Right. As soon as you ask, that's the end of that.
Exactly.
But in your book, you do drop some impressive Hollywood names, and I love that, too. That's really fun.
Yeah, I realize that if I tried so hard to not be, I always make fun of myself when I'm a name dropper, but there are certain people in her life who happen to be ridiculously famous, but they also happen to be people that she knows so well. So I thought, okay, fine, I will tell a story as it relates to her.
And I love that. I love that so much because it also gets to see these stars in a whole different perspective, which is fascinating. It's interesting. And the title of your book is Instant Mom. Tell us about that. How did you come to the title?
Well, I feel like I didn't have time to even buy a pacifier or a stroller when suddenly my daughter walked in our door. There she was, instantly at my house. And all that came with her were the 2 changes of 2 diapers and a change of clothes. And no instructions. And I was so overwhelmed by that, and my friends completely pitched in, and my family. And it's not that, a lot of people can't afford to buy all the accessories that come with a child, and so they're in the same position, and their friends pitch in. Our friends knew we didn't have time, so they were going out and getting things and coming over, and it was just so touching how everyone was just present and in the moment and wanting to help in any way that they could. Eventually, what I detailed in the book is that as I got to meet other moms, no one's prepared for it. No amount of baby showers, no amount of parents being around, grandparents being around, or friends being around, ever prepares you for the incredible responsibility, daunting and uplifting as it is, that you feel when you are responsible for another human life. And that's what bonded me to all these moms, that my experience, while it might be ridiculously different in that I adopted an almost 3-year-old child, it is the same. These kids don't come with an instruction manual.
Yeah, and I loved when you got to that point in the book because even though my oldest is in college now and I'm in high school, I still feel that way. How much am I supposed to visit at college? Maybe I'm visiting too much. How much am I supposed to call? Maybe I call you still feel like you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, and that's adorable. Yeah.
So, I totally relate to that, and I think everyone is going to relate to that aspect of motherhood. And it's not a book at all only for adoptive parents, although adoptive parents should read it because there's so much great information in the book. But the book is for every parent, every mom, and, that's the great part about it. I don't want to give away too much, but you did struggle for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about that struggle, what it was for you, and also I'm also impressed by how it didn't take its toll on your marriage. In a town where marriages don't last that long traditionally anyway, you guys seem to have such a strong bond. Was part of that because you wanted a family so badly?
Yes, I think that we went through something that is it's pretty challenging. Mm-hmm. But not as challenging as the generations before us, where the spouse would go off to war, or spouses now who are going and doing work tours in Afghanistan and trying to rebuild a nation. So we had it in perspective. We knew we had the financial means to do the treatments. We knew I could take time off. We really had it in perspective, and we didn't feel sorry for ourselves.
Right.
At the same time, I finally had to acknowledge that it had really taken its toll on my health and my psyche, and I had to step back and just get out of the spotlight and acknowledge that this had happened and process it. That was the best thing I could have done. I know it freaked my agents out. It freaked my accountant out. It freaked everybody out that I just chose to make my living as a writer, not as an actor. There's a big difference financially in those two worlds, by the way. And that was it. Because, you see, as an actor, you can do 4 films a year if you want. But as a writer, it usually takes you about a year to give your full time to the studio. So right there. I was doing one or two jobs a year. Yeah. And so I guess what I'm doing with the book, I'm terrified to go public with my story. You can see how hesitant I am in even talking about it. It's one of those subjects that I just loathe talking about. But at the same time, I know that by blowing the shame lid off the story, that I feel that other women will hopefully feel comforted by, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Hey, a lot of us go through it. We can do other stuff, and we're good at other stuff. It's okay to say, I couldn't do this. It's okay.
Everyone has different struggles they face. There's no shame in that, and families come from all different ways. So I don't see any possible shame in that. And but I can understand the feeling of having to, how difficult it must be, especially for someone like you, who when, there weren't roles for her in Hollywood, she made her own roles. You get what you want. You succeed. So it must have been frustrating for you to not be able to feel like you were succeeding, although you ultimately did. But at the time, not feeling like you could succeed in what you wanted to accomplish.
Yes, it's exceedingly frustrating, I think, for any woman in my generation who is so appreciative of the generations before us who have done so much for us so that we can have all the choices. Gloria Steinem is so relevant even today because of the work that she did back then and still continues to do. So I'm so grateful that I have the choice to be a mother and work, and I wanted both. And yet one was eluding me. Right. So I do believe that my tenacity paid off, but it is not superhuman. It's not like I'm more focused than the average person. The only thing that I did do is gather so much information that it's like, after you remodel a house and you know how to do it, but you're never going to do it again. Right. I'm not saying I'll never adopt again, but I thought, my God, I have all this information. Right. I can't just be that person at parties that keeps talking about it. Like, when that woman who gets diagnosed with lupus, and then every time you walk by her, she's talking about her lupus? That's how I felt. Yeah. That's how I felt. I was like, oh, my God, the hostess is going to eye roll me if she sees me one more time over the crudité talking to somebody and telling them how to adopt. But that's what was happening. It was everywhere I was going. People were asking me for advice. So I thought, I'm going to put it all in one book. It's the book I wished was out there when I was looking
Why is
for
it such a mystery here to do this? Why is it? It seems like it's such a mystery in the United States to adopt, and there's so many different avenues you can go. Where do you start? How do you make sense of this? It's kind of like throwing darts in the dark,
Well, because it's people like you who are shedding light on it. Because we're just, the average person picks up the newspaper and we read the story that sells newspapers because it's filled with fear. Right. That story sticks with us. I'm trying to counterbalance, push back on those negative stories by putting out this positive story and all the positive people that I've met, so that the next time the media is telling a story, they can have to go. However, in Nia Vardalos' book, she talks about the American Foster Association and all these foster parents who do good and the social workers who do good, so that finally we can stop these stories, these negative stories about social workers who take advantage and foster parents who take advantage. They're so rare.
Or the child from overseas who has terrible disabilities or, untreated anger. And, there's a lot to be afraid of if you're just listening to the media, and there's not a lot else. So that's why it is great. This resource is so available now. And hopefully people will feel more comforted and feel more that it's more accessible to them. Yeah. It's got to be overwhelming.
It was overwhelming. I'd be surfing the net, and I'd think I was on a credible site, and then I'd be trying to process the words, the information, because there are very good sites. I list them as resources in the back of my book. Those sites are great, incredible. And then you click on what you think is something associated with that site, and it's an ad and an ad and an ad that then takes you to a not credible site. And then you start to doubt all the information that you've taken in.
Right.
And that's what was happening to me. I just thought, well, what's right? What's credible? Which way do I go?
Yeah, that's just it. And you hear different stories also from, well, I have a friend of a friend who, you know, and you're like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
It just has to be an exhaustive and difficult journey. And now with this book, it's all spelled out there very clearly and plainly, which is so wonderful. But like I said earlier, the book is it's not just a how-to for adoptive parents. It's anything but that. I mean, while you do share your story of adoption, it's not just for adoptive parents. And while you're a big Hollywood star, this book is very real and feels very relatable. I mean, the stories in there are hilarious. I'm thinking of Trudy Trouble. I cracked up. I'm guessing it wasn't funny at the time.
Yes, I guess we should tell the listeners. So I go off into side stories, which is why I appreciate that you're saying it's not just a book about adoption. It's not just a book for moms. It's just a book. It's a sort of, I guess it's kind of the autobiography I didn't want to write. Right. So I throw in a whole bunch of stories like my husband and I tend to take in stray dogs. And this one dog was a little dangerous, and so I chronicle the story in the book. And I also tell stories about having dinner with the Queen of England, the ultimate name drop, and Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks. They produced my first movie along with Tom's producing partner, Gary Getzman. And then, you know, we became very good friends. And so, again, that's what I was referring to earlier, one of those stories where I think, is this celebrity name dropping? And then I have to tell myself, no. These are friends, and they're in the book, and it is name dropping, whatever. But I asked their permission. I asked anybody that is a known actor, I asked their permission before I put them in the book, and they all were like, yeah, sure.
And they're a part of the story. Like you said, they are a part of your journey to where you ultimately succeed at becoming a mother. So it's great. I love it. I love that they're in the book. I don't think it's, name dropping to show off. I think they were a part of the story, and I loved reading every minute of it.
Oh, thanks.
And I'm sure there are some other ones that didn't make the book, but maybe we'll make the sequel.
Yes, I know. There are about 45 stories that I've just kept on a side thing that I'm going to tell on talk shows and stuff about, like all my celebrity loser moments. When we first moved to Los Angeles, Ian and I would run into celebrities. Like I saw Tori Spelling, and when I saw her, I thought I knew her. You know that moment where you see somebody, and I went, hi! And she, of course, realized, you don't know me, but was gentle with me and said, hello. And then I realized who she was. And I said, oh, no, I've met you before. And she said, oh, where did we meet? And I was like, I think school or something. I didn't grow up here. I don't know her. I mean, and you could see the look in her eye of, oh, please don't be crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Now I have to back away.
That's kind of funny. I bet you have a whole lot of fun stories like that. So I hope you're going to write a second book, because now I'm jonesing for it, since I was sad when I finished that one yesterday. I'm like, wait, it can't end yet.
Thank you.
What still surprises you about motherhood? You've been at it now for a few years. What still surprises you the most?
The endless amount of patience that it takes is very surprising, because I think that I thought that I was a reasonable person. But you have to tap into a well of acumen that you just didn't even know existed. And wisdom, I find myself saying things that my mom said to me, and they're quite valid.
Yeah.
That surprises me.
Absolutely. And the times that your patience is tried the most, it usually feels like it's at that moment where you think you haven't got an ounce left to give.
Yeah.
And then something happens, and then you realize just how strong you are and the depth of your patience. And it is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, and you see them, too, struggling. Like just this morning I had started to do interviews, and my daughter wanted to come and talk to me, and I have an office in the house, so I told her what was happening. I told her everything, but she needed to ask me something. So she opened the door and stood there, and I saw her just willing herself, because we have a big rule: if someone's on the phone in this house, you don't talk to them. The rule is unless it's an emergency or you're on fire.
Right.
And,
I always know I'm bleeding or it's the president, but
yeah,
in the shower I'm on the phone. If you're bleeding or if it's the president, otherwise don't bother me.
That's right, because it comes from years of friends who were parents would just be like, "Want to talk to Angie, Nia?" No, I'm and then the kid would come on the phone, you just hear this, right? Yeah. And then
or the mom that keeps carrying on conversations with their child when you're like, all right, do you want to call me back when you can talk? Because this is not working.
Yeah, it's all the things I vowed not to do. Of course, I still break the rule every day. So, but this morning I saw her willing her little body not to interrupt me, and I started laughing. And then she started laughing, and then she closed the door really quickly because she didn't know if it qualified as being in trouble. And so when I finished that interview, I ran downstairs and to laugh further with her. And I said, boy, that must have been hard not to interrupt me. And the way she described it was, she said, my brain was saying do it. And my mouth was saying do it, and my brain was saying no.
A poor thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so sweet. She's such a good girl. She resisted.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great story. That is. So, what's next for you? What's coming up next? Any big projects on the horizon?
I have a deal at Paramount. I'm writing a screenplay for them. It's probably about 3, maybe 4 women and 2 men, maybe 6. It's an ensemble. And I'm going to play one of the women and produce it for them. I'm writing it right now. And it's an anti-romantic romantic comedy called Leftovers, about a group of people who throw a party to find out why they're single.
Wow, I can relate. That sounds good.
Thanks. And I wanted it to sort of speak to us all, those of us who are in relationships, those of us who are not, those of us who want, those of us who do not. So I'm sort of making fun of my own movies in this movie. But, of course,
I love it.
There will be kissing.
Yay. I also read in your book that you have hopes maybe possibly doing Broadway someday. I love Broadway. I live for Broadway.
Oh, yeah. I'm still trying to get there, still trying to find a project that aligns with the timing, because it's about an 18-month commitment.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find something. My agents are constantly searching for a role that it's just going to be a blast. I think it's going to happen. I really do.
That's awesome. And I know that there was some Twitter mumblings about possibly maybe working with this composer who I adore, Scott Allen. I love his work, and I heard about some tweets and Twitters and maybe doing your own show on Broadway and maybe a collaboration or something, anything like that.
I feel like there was a late night brain fog of me doing something. But if you know him, tell him to tweet me again if he's serious. I thought he was kidding around.
Oh, no. He's amazing. And, I'm kind of like a stalker fangirl to him. But I adore him and his music. And he's an incredible artist. But, I'm sure he would love the chance to work with someone like you.
Wow. Okay. Well, in the way that Twitter is the new Match.com and just connects me to the most interesting people, I want to do a plug for my friend Jack Gray. I'm reading his book right now. It's called Pigeon in a Crosswalk. So funny. Such a good book. It's out right now. If people are waiting, and also if people are waiting for mine, we have a contest with my book. If you pre-order now, it will arrive on the release date, which is April 2nd. And if you send me a picture of yourself holding the book, HarperCollins and I will choose one winner a day, and you could win a second personalized book for your friend or your mom or your sister.
Oh, how fun.
So that's why we're
great.
So you have to pre-order to get it by April 2nd, and that's today.
And I've put all the links on my website for that as well. Yeah, so I'll now they'll know about the contest, so they're going to want to pre-order right away.
That's great. And again, Twitter connected me with you.
Yes.
And Jack Gray is just somebody I met on Twitter. I just thought his tweets were funny, and I bought his pigeon in a crosswalk, and now we're friends. He's fantastic. He's Anderson Cooper's producer.
Oh, okay. And is his Twitter handle Jack Gray? Or, I guess if I search it.
Yeah, it's at Jack Gray CNN.
Oh, cool. Okay. How fun. Yeah, Twitter is great. I've met some really incredible people through Twitter people, and it's been great. It's been a way to connect to people that you couldn't before. Yeah. Which is very cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm so thrilled I had a chance to talk to you. I'm kind of starstruck, so I hope I don't sound like a total dork today. But I'm so thrilled to get to talk to you. And I loved reading your book, and I hope everyone goes out and gets it because they're going to love it, too, and they're going to love you, too. And you're going to have all these best friends all over the world because that's just how I feel after reading the book. And thank you so much for taking time to join me today. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, thank you as well. Thank you for helping us spread the word about the book. It's
I will.
We need the tell a friend thing on this because there just isn't an ad budget in the book world. So we thank you so, so much.
Oh, and I will keep spreading the word because I really, truly endorse it. I love the book. I love that there's a resource for adoption, that all the information is right there, which is so needed. So I'm sure it'll be a great success. Oh,
thank you so much. Okay. Oh, yay. Okay, thank you so much. All right,
thank
take
you.
care.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, yeah, I'm a little starstruck. How awesome is she? So everyone, please order her book. Please read her book. It's amazing. And she does such a great job of advocating for adoption.